On my mind, gotta hustle and grind. Financial literacy always on my mind. I'm stacking knowledge, no time to waste. Gotta invest smart, gotta keep up the pace. I'm reading books, learning all the tricks, studying the market, making calculated picks.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy Reckless Radenero, and we are back at it again with another episode. Today, we are talking about the middle class trap. There's a couple of different middle class traps, though, so it's actually going to be a twofer. You guys get a 2-for-1 because this is a split topic, and we're going to go down the initial standard fare rabbit hole, and then we're going to go down the modern rabbit hole on this middle class trap because there's two of them. But before we get into it, make sure you've liked the video. If you've already liked the video and you've been here more than 2 times, make sure that you're subscribed and turn that bell notification down below to all, because I don't post that much. You're only getting information. It's all back talk all the time. So you're only getting information that you want over here. I'm not flooding you. I normally don't post every day. We are going to be having a little bit more frequency because I got some other stuff going on that I think is going to be of use and of value. So we will be knocking those videos out for you guys as well. So there's going to be a little bit more content coming. We're not flooding with content. It's all, again, all back talk all the time over here on Future Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about the middle class trap. Now, there's a couple of them, but we're going to just go ahead and jump right into it because I actually have a reaction. I'm going to do some reactions. I got a couple of things. But first, let's talk about it. Let's hear what the guru's got to say, because I'm not a guru, but I like to listen to him sometimes. Let's go.
Because if you've been paying attention to anything that I've said, and I'm going to make this really hard. If you are in the middle income, you're middle income, middle class in the United States, you are a slave to the machine, guaranteed. Why? Because you got fed the middle income program. The wealth are running a different program. They're not playing the same game as all of the people. But hell, by the time you get information too late, you're running the wrong program. It's not too late, but you got to stop doing what you're doing. So what's that program? Because if you've been paying attention to
Okay. So middle class slavery. I went through this phase as well. The way that he broke down programs, I do agree with, though, because they're the way that you look at money, the way that you deal with income, and your approach to it, you are pre-trained to have to work for forever. So you are, in essence, a slave to the machine. You are one of those people who are like me, my family. I come from a family. We have very high work ethic. I can outwork anybody. I can work real hard. The issue is, at the end of the day, when the dust settles, I never had anything to show for it until I started making some adjustments to how I believed, my belief system about money, and how I utilize money, and actually taking an interest in learning how money actually works. Because the wealthy are playing a different game than you. But we're talking about the middle class trap. So how do they trap you? Well, first and foremost, so let's go with the AI definition. And one of the definitions is the middle class trap can refer to a situation where a country or a person struggles to move out of the middle class. This is true. Very true. And how do we get there? Now, this is going to be interesting, and I'm going to actually go through this. I'm going to share this screen with you guys. It's Yahoo Finance, verifiable site. Everybody uses Yahoo Finance. I find it pretty interesting because you don't have to hide this information anymore because there's so much information. You don't have to listen to Reckless Radenero. There's 90 million people, a lot of them with bigger platforms than me, that talk about money all the time and pontificate to you what you should be doing. My channel's a little bit different because I'm just letting you guys know what I'm doing. So we're going to go through this in very reactionary call and response stands from that space. So I'm gonna see if any of these apply to me, because I kind of did a quick glance over, and we're just going to read the headline for those of you that are listening. But this is the 9 things per Yahoo Finance They're the 9 middle-class money traps that keep you from being wealthy. Number one, trying to keep up with the Joneses. Now, this one used to be me. I used to fall into this trap until I started actually making some headway with my finances. And then the game just became, am I moving forward? Is my net worth moving forward? Do I have more cash available? Am I in positions to where we can eliminate or get rid of some debt? Those things. Now, trying to keep up with the Joneses does affect a lot of people. A lot of people make ego purchases. A lot of people with money that are up towards the upper part of the middle class start trying to look like the people that are ahead of them. I want to get this. Oh, I got to drive this luxury car. I got to be seen in this. Everything's ego driven. Zero practicality. You're blowing money as soon as it comes in. Oh, I got to be on vacation once a quarter so people know I'm doing something. And then you're complaining about not being able to make the investments that you want to make. Well, you're making investments in your short-term fund regularly. And that's what's going to keep you where you're at. There's multiple levels of trappings, but this is one because we all have the internet. We all have Instagram. You guys see my post about the Misty updates because I'm trying to let you guys know that we are printing money over here. I'm laying down the crumbs for you to follow. I'm not doing it to flex on you because I don't sit around and really, I'm not a big flex person. I buy stuff that I like, but like you don't see me up here in a Gucci hat, bazillion-dollar glasses with the shades and the outfits and the, oh, look at me. Like I keep things simple. Like that stuff doesn't impress me. A shirt is a shirt is a shirt. A car is a car is a car. There are cars that I like. I come from a street racing background. I used to race cars. So I like a fast car. I do enjoy a fast car. And when it's time, I will have one. But like, it's probably not going to be a flex piece like most people are thinking. Like building up a custom S2000 would be fine for me for a second car to drive when it's nice out. It's not a $100 million car. And like I'm flexing on, you know, when I get ready to trade my vehicle in, whatever I get is going to be the top of the line of whatever I get. Because I'm at a point now to where I can afford it. But that it's not necessarily to keep up with the Joneses. It's because I have a couple of things that are important to me, namely a really good sound system. Like it's not that I want other people to hear me, but I definitely don't want to be listening to other people's radios in my car. And I listen to a lot of music and podcasts, and I don't want to be listening to crappy music in my car. Like it's a thing that matters to me. And it's stupid, but it matters to me. So it doesn't matter whether I get something that could be semi-flex because I've had a luxury car. Like I've got a Lexus now. I might get another one. There's a couple of other luxury brand vehicles that I'm looking at now because I'm in a different phase of my life than I was when I bought my Lexus that I have now. Like I have different needs. So I'm probably going to be getting something that's, well, actually for sure going to be getting something that's all-wheel drive. That's a bare minimum. No matter what I get, it's going to be all-wheel drive. Like, I keep saying that we only have to stomach in KC 2 weeks of bad weather. Well, I can't. It's gotten to the point where it's just so obnoxiously annoying to me that for the rest of the time that I'm going to live here, since I'm going to be here for at least another 30 months, I'm going to have a car that when winter rolls around, I'm able to get around. So we'll most likely be doing that. I will need a larger vehicle than what I have now because right now I got like a little bitty hybrid car. And I like it. I love it. But like, I want a little bit more space. I have tools. I do a trade job, being able to cart stuff around. And I don't have problems getting stuff around now. But I also have to drive it to job sites. And it's like, if I'm going to be relegated to one vehicle, it has to serve multiple purposes. And so, yeah. So it's probably going to be a truck or an SUV. Like those are also things that are going to happen. And premium audio is going to be a big deal for me. Like, I don't necessarily care about the sunroof. I use my sunroof sometimes, not nearly as much as most people do. That is a feature set that doesn't matter to me. Air conditioned or ventilated seats actually has become more of a thing that matters to me. I love my heated seats, but like during the summer, I get in the car and I'm hot and I don't like it. And that's the end of that story. I would just like the seats to just be able to get some air circulating on me, you know? So that could or could not, because like getting into the truck space, I don't know that that's like from a feature set, but I found a couple of SUVs that I like, and That is a feature set, but it's not keeping up with the Joneses. I've driven my car until there was a grievous repair on it, and like now I don't have faith in the vehicle, and I drive a lot, so it's time to go. Like I'm getting close to 200,000 miles. That's about the time that I trade them in, and I'll get something with like 20,000 miles on it and put 180,000 miles on it myself, like because I don't buy new cars, but put around somewhere between 150 to 250,000 miles on a vehicle. I drive them till they're done, and I trade them in, get a new one. Not necessarily about the Joneses, or I would get cars way sooner because I don't like having car payments either. Number 2, spending without saving or investing. This definitely used to be me as well. At this point, you guys are with me for the updates. I'm saving 40+% of my income every paycheck now. So that doesn't affect me now, but it definitely was one, and it definitely kept me from moving forward. I would have so much more money now had I been able to do that. But that's number 2 of the things that keep you trapped in the middle class. Settling for the status quo. This is an interesting one. I'm going to read a little bit of it because I got to understand their take on it and where they're coming from, because I haven't pre-read this. Live reactions. When people start making more money, they often become comfortable and settle where they are. This can keep them from achieving true wealth. Okay, so they're saying, oh, you got to 6 figures. You're good at 6 figures. You're just going to stay there. There are people that do that. This one has never been my issue. While over here on Future Financial Strategies, I do advocate for maximizing the money that you make. That doesn't mean you stop there. Like, we're building income that doesn't require us to show up for work. That's like the key tenet number 1 for the way that I'm navigating the financial space. Got to have like a big pool of income coming in, and then you distribute it as you need. We're investing. We're doing all sorts of fun stuff. It's important. So like growing that income is always at the front of our minds. We just try to do it as efficiently as possible. That doesn't require us to necessarily go out and work, because what if you can't? What if we get told we got to stay home again? What if you hurt yourself? These are things that I'm constantly battling against. So we are not settlers for the status quo over here. Relying on yourself for everything. Now, this is 100% a me problem. It is a me problem. This one, out of all the ones that we've read so far, one that I still do, I am very insular. I don't ask anyone for anything. I don't need help. I'm the person that people come to that need help. I'm really bad at accepting assistance. I'm really bad at accepting help. I'm really bad about letting people help me. And I am very much I do a lot of stuff myself. Now, after we get to a certain point, could that change? Absolutely. But as it sits right now, and even as we're moving forward now, I'm starting to make some adjustments. Like, I've got some things that I'm getting ready to put in place that are going to help me out, because like I am the person who's like, yo, I'm going to clean this. Like, I'll do this. I'll do this myself. The car needs to get fixed. I'm going to dink with it first before taking it to the mechanic. And if I can't fix it, or it's something that's beyond what I'm going to work with, then I'll take it in. But very self-reliant, very much independent, and very much starting to realize that some of those things just aren't worth my time. It just costs me more to do it because it's going to take forever. And so that is one that we are currently still battling. I don't necessarily know that it's 100% trap. I'm pretty sure that if we were to look at the comorbidities of being trapped in the middle class, you probably have a bunch of these things before you're officially trapped. But like, definitely a cobweb that's on me is the relying on yourself for everything. And hold on, how many more of these? The next one on the list is failing to take advantage of investing. In my younger days, this was me, but it was because it was back. Like, I remember when I first started investing, it was like you used to have to mail money off to a mutual fund and like send it to them. And then after you sent it to them, you'd have to like look at how it did. And then like, if you wanted the money back, you had to like request it. And then they had to mail you a check that you had to go cash. It was just very cumbersome. And I didn't see the money growing fast enough. And so I did not consistently do it. Now, the opportunities that we have now in present time, this would not have been an issue for me had I started dabbling now, because I started dabbling probably at, I'd say at 18. And it just wasn't something that I was seeing results. Now, the stuff that we're advocating for over here on Future Financial Strategies would have kept me interested, because I was like, you can get to where you're making some money pretty fast. And I got something in store for you guys that I'm getting ready to launch that's going to help those of you that are just getting started as well. So like, keep tapped in. If you're not subscribed, I definitely recommend subscribing, because like, that is going for those of you who are on the remedial end or just getting started out and want to like follow and go through that process with somebody. I got you. And the next one on the list is relying on credit cards and other expensive debt. Now, I still use credit cards and other expensive debt. We use it primarily to fund investments or allow us to be in investments. With that said, that does not necessarily mean that we're not doing it like most people, because the way that they're referencing it is people are living off of their credit cards and expensive debt because they don't view themselves as making enough money, or are not willing to cut back their lifestyle to the cash available to them via their pay or whatever they've got going on. That's not necessarily us. We still leverage debt. We still use it because it allows us to keep money in the market. It allows us to continue to build up that income. And then we come back on the back end, pay the debt off, and then you get to keep the machine that you have bought. You get to keep the investments that you have bought. So it's a little bit of a different perspective. The wealthy use debt. They use credit. Don't let them lie to you. Renting instead of buying. Now, this one we did buy. We were renting. I did buy. I own my place. It's a math question. I understand now why people are renting, because the place that I bought, it would have been a completely different scenario than had I been in a situation where I rent now. The one caveat to that is the risk with renting is somebody can just jack your rate up an astronomical amount. This can also happen if you buy a home that has an HOA. Nationwide, you're seeing these coastal areas. People are getting forced and priced out of their homes because the HOA fees are getting so astronomical that is forcing them to sell their places. That's another thing you have to look out for. It's one of the reasons that I bought the place that I bought was because there was no HOA. But that said, it would be a different scenario had I had to buy this place again now. Completely different game. Completely different. The mortgage would be like double what it is now. And there's places that you can rent around here that are less than what that mortgage would be. But again, they can raise the rates on you. And they generally do every year. They squeeze you a little bit more every year that rent goes up. So if you're not consistently at minimum getting a cost of living raise, your mortgage is now eating into your pay every year. Your rent is now eating into your pay every year. So there's a couple of caveats. I believe that the rent and own discussion is a math discussion. It's what are you wanting to pay? Will you be able to save money while renting? Because when I did rent, the reason I rented was because my rent was dirt cheap. I lived in a neighborhood I loved it, but it was a little bit dicey sometimes. A little bit dicey sometimes, but fun neighborhood, great neighbors. The side of the street that I lived on was awesome. Like you go 2 blocks over, not awesome. But the rent was so inexpensive that and I had roommates. So like the rent was cheap to begin with. And then it was even cheaper by subsidizing it with roommates. And then it made it so that we could save up money. So that way, when we moved out of that place, when it was time to move out of that place, like everybody went and like we were in positions where the discussion was, are you going to buy something? Are you going to put yourself in a position to rent to own? And it was what it was. But that was a different scenario because like at that point the rent was so inexpensive, because like rent here now on average is little, I think it's like $1,100-$1,200 a month for rent here. So when I was renting, I was paying $650 a month with 2 roommates. So like you break that down, it's like basically nothing. And then we're splitting utilities and the internet and all that good stuff. So it's a different dynamic, but it's something that, you know, I don't necessarily think renting will keep you in that position. But like if you get stuck in a doom spiral with the rents going up, it could. Because like the amount that my mortgage has increased since I've moved here, since I owned this place in 5 years, is $100. Most people are getting taxed on an additional $100 every year. And I've been here for 5, and it's tax wise. So taxes could also go down. So like I could get lower taxes. Well, as my property value goes up, obviously taxes get adjusted. They do their little assessment thing, and then it is what it is. But in general, if it's tax basis, it doesn't necessarily always have to go up. The city could tax you less. Like we could vote in somebody who's like, yo, I'm going to lower property taxes. That's an option. So renting instead of buying, it's a math decision. I think now rent is a lot more of a better option for people. But like if you have a situation where you can get roommates and subsidize that rent, you could also subsidize a mortgage. So like then you have a different conversation on if that's something that you want to do, and you have roommates anyways, and one of you is in a position to buy a home, I would go ahead and do that with the one person, because it's going to actually benefit everyone, unless you're going to try to act like these scuzzy landlords and overcharge your roommates for rent, which, I mean, that's a character issue. But generally speaking, I'm like, if you can make it amicable for all parties involved, A, they won't leave until you make them. And B, you'll start building that equity. You'll start having that home ownership, and C, you won't have to worry about astronomical increases to that payment. Whatever you guys are paying, it's more or less going to be around there. The variable will be utilities. And last but not least, having no long-term plan. Now, I see this a lot. A lot of people's long-term planning is planning on how they're going to blow all their savings on that vacation. That's the extent of most people's long-term planning. It's like, yo, I'm going on vacation next year. It's going to cost $5,000. I got to figure out how to get $5,000, or any amount of money that they save up. They're then following that up with, oh, I'm going to blow it all on this. I got to upgrade a car. I got to go buy a bigger TV. I got to go get the new phone every year. And just not looking long-term, or not looking long-term enough to figure out if there's a way that you can fund those things without you having to use that W-2 income. There's options. That does not affect me. I am a very long-term planner. Like the shortest window of time that I'm normally looking in is 12 months. And it's normally 5 to 10 years is what I'm normally looking at. Like when I'm doing my stuff, I'm going 5 to 10 years, and we're navigating around potholes as we go. But that's not the only trap. Now there's another trap that I find very interesting. And that is the middle class trap that they sell you with how you do your investments. There's a bunch of people in the middle class that work their way up the corporate ladder. They do everything that they're supposed to do. Put themselves on autopilot, go to college, get that degree, work to pay off that college debt, buy a house, be in debt with your house, your car, family, and you're investing. You're doing your Roth 401k, you're doing your IRA maybe if you're really into it. And you get to a point to where technically you're a millionaire. And this is the most insidious middle class trap there is, in my opinion, because it's a trap that catches everyone else. All the people who would work their way out of the middle class are trapped there. And here's why. because they become a millionaire, which by technically you should be able to make some moves. You should be able to choose where you live. You probably could be able to retire early depending on how you are established in that millionaire status. But here's what they do. By the time you hit a millionaire, which you do hit early before you're at retirement age normally, it's all tied up in your house and your 401k through your job. So you're a millionaire that doesn't have access to those funds, because most people are not gonna sell their house, because then you got to live somewhere, right? So you can't really tap that money, because most people aren't comfortable getting HELOCs and borrowing against their house, because you screw around and do that, you can end up losing your house. The other part of the money is trapped in a 401k, in which case you're getting double and triple penalized if you pull that money out, because it's not just the tax that you have to pay when you pull it out. If you have that set with a brokerage, somebody has that money, they're taking a cut and penalizing you as well. So now you got a decision to make. It's like, yo, like, to get this out, to be able to navigate it how I see fit, I gotta take all these hits, and now that chunk of money is getting whittled down, and just they're taking an axe to it. The other part of the trap is how that money is held, because most people are not building up an income base. So once you do hit retirement, the reason you can't hit retirement at $1 million is because you would then have to start eating into those assets. Like I said, you got to sell the house or take out a HELOC, or you're setting up some reverse loan stuff, so that way your kids lose the house when you die, because like now the house is super expensive and not paid for. And you have all this wealth, and you're running your assessment, and you're doing your net worth, and you're doing like Reckless Rate and Narrow. You might not be uploading it, but I do. Where you're doing your assessment at the end of the year, and you're going, man, I did it. I've arrived. I'm a millionaire. I'm worth a few $1 million. And all that money you don't have access to. So now you got to keep going to work. You got to keep producing for the machine. You have no option to leave. You can't take a lesser paying job, because now you're eating up all your income. You're doing all the things, because most of you will experience life creep, and you're going to keep adding your expenses up. You're going to keep spending more. And now you can't scale back, because your investments are in tacit things. You might have a little bit of income coming in if you're invested in the S&P 500. You might have a little bit. But I see it all the time, the gurus in the dividend space that claim to be about income, and they have a portfolio that's 3 times the size of mine, and they're producing less a month than I, because they don't want to deal with the NAV erosion. I don't like watching the numbers fluctuate, the volatility, which is fine. There's a cost for everything. And the cost for that is, it's like, okay, well, like if you're going to live off those dividends, now long term, I do like that. You should have some slow dividends towards your retirement, and you scale into that. But like, you should be building all that as you're going. But like, being able to take a lesser job and actually utilize and manipulate the money as you see fit now, those retirement accounts end up becoming shackles, because you can't leave and you can't get access to it without a grievous expense, which most people honestly don't want to take that either. Now, me personally, like, I'm totally fine axing a 401k, because that hit, I'm going to make it back. I'm going to make it back and then some, because of the way that I invest and the risk tolerance that I have. Like, I'll just throw it in Bitcoin. I'm like, cool, I'll take this money, throw it in Bitcoin, wait 5 years, and now I'm good. But the people end up trapped in that cycle, and then the end game is, it's like, by the time you get to do anything that you want to do, your body's broken, your will to exist is broken. Like, you don't even want to do anything but be at home now, because people are knuckleheads out here. And it just rides on you, and they force you into these situations. So the people who don't get caught in the 9 things that we just went over and reacted to, they get caught because like those are the ones that are trying to get out. You're like me. You're like, yo, I don't want to have to do this until I'm 60. Like this sucks. Like I don't like it. I don't like being told what I got to do. I don't like having to ask somebody if I can do things that I want to do. I don't like being told what my schedule is all the time. Like it's just not something that I want to do. I don't like not having the leverage of like, yo, I'll just quit. Like, okay, I just won't come in here. I'm still getting paid. Like those things I don't like. And it's not necessarily that I want to retire early and kick my feet up on a beach and have a Mai Tai and just be sitting around. But I do want to travel. Like I do want to do things. I do want to be able to put my focus on things that matter to me, that are in alignment with my value set, and things that I actually want to do or that I'm interested in, and be able to go, oh, well, if that pays less than what I'm doing now, fine. But that's what I want to do. So like, that's what we're going to do. And had I not started down this rabbit hole, had I not injured myself, I would have never thought about it in the way that I'm thinking about it now. But the secondary middle class trap of all your assets are tied up in things that you don't have, but you have a net worth that's high, sucks to me. That's the reason I tell people I keep most of mine in a liquid, semi-liquid state. Like Bitcoin, I can convert that to cash within 48 hours. My stocks, I can sell, convert to cash within 48 hours. I can borrow against those stocks. I can convert to cash immediately. Like I have things that are assets. Like my house is not a major part of my net worth. It's a chunk of it, but it's not the biggest part. And like, I don't necessarily ever want it to be. Like, I want all my investments. I'm like, I have to have my investments beating my house, my whatever I've got in my house. And like, as it sits right now, like even with the appreciation of the house, like I have more in my liquid assets to where it's like, yo, like this is on parity or above your house, because it's the same for me. Like I don't want to sell my house. Now we are going to be using some of the HELOC strategies potentially to boost my investment side of things. But like I said, you don't want to have to rely on that money, because when you need it, they don't want to give it to you. That's another issue that people run into, is like when you need these things, if you actually need to borrow against your house to keep afloat for a couple of months and you don't have a job, they won't give you the money. So like, that's also no good to you. Stocks, liquid assets, you can float on that. You can actually go in and eat those immediately and be like, cool, like we can do this, we can make these moves here. And if you have an income portfolio, hopefully you're generating enough to where you can use that, so that can come before you have to eat your portfolio up, and you can float on that. This is a chessboard. There's a bunch of different tools. Like I don't necessarily advocate that income portfolios are the be all end all. It's not right for some people. But for me, the way that I manipulate it, it's great. It's been a game changer. It's been a life changer. It's been a godsend. So that's what we're talking about today. Tap in with me down in the comments. Let me know, are you trapped in the middle class trap? Does that apply to you? And if so, are you making some moves? And what moves are you making to kind of start shifting that tide a little bit? Till next week, people, it's your boy Reckless Rated Narrow, and we are out of here. Peace.
Money on my mind, yeah. Focus, got no time for games, nah. I don't blame it, I'm all about that financial literacy. Investing in my future, building generational wealth. Dollar bills, they be calling my name, but I ain't chasing fame, I'm chasing change. Learn the game, now I'm playing it smart. Putting my money to work, it's an art. I'm stacking paper, building my own empire. No more living check to check, I'm getting higher. Investing in stocks, real estate, and more. Gotta secure the bag, that's what I came for.